expected to go anywhere. What more can you tell us about this window?
Yeah, I'm told, Kevin, he's going to wait at least through Thanksgiving and before he starts to really engage with the Lakers about what kind of a deal he's going to do. He will be back with them. One option for him is to do a 3-year deal with an opt-out after the second year. That would line him up contractually with LeBron James. They obviously share the same agent, Rich Paul. He'll be back with the Lakers. It's just a matter of how long does he go with his deal out of the gate here.
One fascinating backstory is Gordon Hayward. He declined that $34 million option, that final year with the Celtics yesterday.
Probably at least the next week, working through that. He gets a new teammate tonight. Montrezl Harrell leaves the Clippers. I'm told by his agent, Rich Paul's going to the Lakers.
Right.
2 years, $19 million, essentially their mid-level exception. He takes Dwight Howard's spot. Dwight went to play for Doc Rivers in Philly on a 1-year minimum deal.
That's Woj up to the minute, which doesn't mean he's done, and we're here up until midnight, so if something happens, stick close, because we'll bring you back.
Thanks.
They get him at essentially the mid-level exception, at 2 years, $19.5 million with a player option on year 2, and the priority for the Clippers was keeping Marcus Morris, and they're going to do that with a 4-year, $64 million deal, I'm told.
So Anthony Davis, no need to worry in LA?
Yeah, Anthony Davis will be back with the Lakers. He's going to take some time to decide, I'm told, at least through Thanksgiving next week, about how he wants to structure his deal with LA. And, he certainly has several options in terms of the length. One option for him will be to get his contract lengthwise on par with LeBron James. That would be essentially a 3-year deal with a player option after the second year, and then he and LeBron would be contractually aligned. They obviously share the same agent, Rich Paul.
All right, so meanwhile in Boston, Gordon Hayward opted out of his contract with the Celtics, but...
So Anthony Davis, eligible to sign that extension. What is the latest with the negotiations between him and the defending champion LA Lakers?
Well, there's not going to be a rush. There's not going to be a quick Anthony Davis agreement, I'm told. At least probably not until well into next week, I was told, past Thanksgiving. Davis,
wow.
Listen, he's returning to the Lakers. It's going to be a question of what the deal looks like. He's got a few different options in terms of the structure, how long he's going to go. He can do like a 2+1, 3-year deal with an option after 2. That lines him up with LeBron James. They could be on the same, be on the same trajectory at that point. So that's what he's going to talk to the Lakers about. He and Rich Paul, his agent, into the next week. I know Rich Paul will talk to Rob Pelinka tonight. He's got KCP, who's also a free agent there. But you saw LeBron James do this in Cleveland when he was on those 1-year deals, and you knew he was going back. Some of them extended several weeks, a few weeks. I don't know if ADs will go that long, right. But there's just going to be a window of time here before he decides or firmly commits to whatever contract structure they finally land on.
The other big sort of idea we're going to be talking about today and looking for is how these free agents or moves or trades are going to fit in with teams that they don't know what they're getting this coming year in terms of fans in the stands, revenue coming in. There's question marks about how much room there is available. Not a lot of teams have huge, gallons of cap space the way we've seen in some other years. How is that going to affect guys like Fred VanVleet or Serge Ibaka, who aren't those big, huge names like Kawhi Leonard last year, but who have won rings and could be a key ingredient to add to a championship mix on another team?
I think Fred VanVleet is very likely to return to Toronto. Maybe it hurts him in his negotiations as to what number he can get to with the Raptors on his extension versus if there were a lot of teams with cap space and he had a lot of, maybe some more viable options out there. But I think VanVleet returns to Toronto. But I think two of Toronto's free agents, Serge Ibaka, Marcus Gasol, very much up in the air where they play. Those are two players who a lot of teams around the league want to talk to here in the next a couple days, and I think Toronto would like to keep as much of the group together as they can. And so, those will be some interesting questions. But I think you look around the league and you see players like, Joe Harris. I think Brooklyn will move here in the next couple days to try to get Harris locked up. And some players, who are key components to teams. Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, both extension eligible. Those are very likely extensions that they'll get done here, I think, sometime in the next few days.
Yeah, well, we know that a lot of these moves set up the moves that create a trade to get a big name player in a week or two. So we're going to be watching all of them for sure. Woj, I know how busy you are right now. Thank you so much for taking a minute out. We will say goodbye, but please come back if news breaks. We'll look for you through the rest of the show. Anthony Davis, because he can sign that long-term extension we've been talking about with the Lakers. All roads, of course, lead to him staying in LA. He does have some choices. And as you heard Woj say in our last block, he's not expected to commit in the immediate days. Brian, can you explain a little bit about what's going on here to our audience, what his options are, and is there any point they should start getting nervous?
Well, there's some speculation out there, Rachel, that one of the reasons why he's going to delay his decision is because the Lakers have some other free agency moves to make, and he just wants to let them know he's watching. Now, I don't think there's any stress out there. He will be a Laker, but one of the guys they have to make a decision on, and it's a tough decision about how much to pay him, is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is represented by the same agent, Rich Paul. Now, I think Caldwell-Pope is going to have some interest out there in the market. Whether or not he can get enough money out there to actually leave the Lakers is a different story. But this is somewhat reminiscent of when J.R. Smith was a free agent back in 2016 in Cleveland, represented by Rich Paul. And LeBron took his sweet time over that summer before signing. Now, having said that, LeBron did sign before J.R. Smith did. But while I think Anthony Davis has been well aware of his contracts options for months now, maybe it's just a little bit of a check game that he's playing.
Paul, if you were Anthony Davis, would you commit 2 years plus a player option, do the 1-and-1, where you're only committing for another year? We've seen that be a strain on teams, like when Kevin Durant kept doing the 1-and-1s and the 1-and-1s, it just brought all these questions about whether he was really going to stay. Or do you want to keep your flexibility if you're Anthony Davis?
I think it's important for the players these days to keep their flexibility. I would line my contract up directly with LeBron's because, as you can see, he can sign for 35% of the cap after that 10 years. And so, LeBron, he could probably retire in 2-3 years. Who knows? But I'll line my situation up with his. But what Anthony Davis got to understand is you're a Laker, you won a championship. Now, if you decide after 2 years you don't want to be a Laker or 3 years you don't want to be a Laker, it's like, to me, where do you go from there? And so I really would start thinking long term. I would think even for a 5 or 6 year deal. I mean, because after you may win another championship as a Laker. There's nowhere else you can go after being a Laker after winning 2 championships and being the face of the franchise long after LeBron has left. So, I mean, his options are open, and that's a good thing to have these type of options for Anthony Davis to make these type of decisions, because he's one of those players whose game is injury-proof also. He's 7 feet, athletic. He can do so many things with the ball. He can shoot, soft touch, handle the ball. So, sky's the limit for this kid. Whether he stays healthy or not, he's still going to get a great deal. So maybe 2 is the way to go.
I like what you're saying, Paul, and I agree. He really has some flexibility. I think lining his contract up with LeBron is a great thing to do. Win as much as possible. And then down the line, obviously you could do the 1-and-1s back at home. I know that was talked about. I think Chicago, a couple other teams where he could possibly go back. He could do his 1-and-1s then. But right now, you want to win as much as possible. And he can make a lot of money on a very good team with the chance to win another championship back-to-back possibly. So I think right now, I don't walk away from that opportunity. I mean, I think, at the end of the day, he's going to be a Laker. And they're just giving all these, just doing, like you said, playing the game a little bit. Yeah, I know I'm signing there. I'll sign later, just for the drama,
What's life without a little bit of drama? And by the way, Paul, I know that you have your number retired in Boston. Right, exactly. I know, Paul, you have your number retired in Boston Garden, but you're clearly always an LA kid if you're saying, what could you possibly